Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Electric Bison. We'll be talking about nuclear war again today. Behind me is the statue of Thomas Francis Marr, a Waterford, Ireland born Irishman who migrated to New York City by way of Tasmania when he was sentenced to be drawn and quartered, but they commuted it to transportation down to the southern hemisphere, and then from Tasmania by way of New York he came here to Montana. He's very famous because 100 years before my birth, in July 28th, 1848, he gave a speech in Conciliation Hall in Dublin where he said to not stigmatize the sword, which he's carrying there, because the sword had given our country its liberty. And he said the sword needs to be used whenever Ireland needs to seek its independence. And he used another example of Belgium, their independence. And he was kind of banned by the predominant Irish party at the time, which was a peace party, basically a nonviolent party. I'm all in favor of nonviolence in every case, if that's possible. But he had a point. We use the sword here in this country to gain our independence. Sword's a pretty nasty weapon. I mean, can you cut somebody else's head off? Really? I remember the time my brother Pat and I got caught behind the egg-laying boxes in our chicken coop in Miles City, and the chickens started coming behind there with us without their heads, you know, throwing blood around. That was pretty nasty. Pretty unforgettable, obviously. We were just little kids, and I'm not a little kid anymore, and I still remember it. We ran like hell. Well, you know, I've read where our favorite, Montana's favorite vigilante, Ex Beadler, in his book, Ex Beadler Vigilante, he brags about quartering. In other words, cutting into four pieces, 20 Sioux Indians up on the Judith, and then boiling their skulls, and then setting the skulls out, 20 skulls for the passengers on the river boats coming up to Fort Benton so they could see him and I guess somehow be impressed. I remember, I think one of the women on the boats, I think Green Clay Smith's wife, incoming governor, was horrified at the barbarity of it. So a sword and all that way of doing things is barbaric. But let's face it, war is barbaric. You can't win a war. If you can avoid it, just avoid it. Which brings me to the main point about nuclear war now, and I think it's time for us to face up to it. And that is the present Pope, Pope Leo, and has decided he's an Augustinian. In other words, he's of the school of St. Augustine, who's the one that developed the just war theory that said there are reasons for countries, Christian nations, to be able to go to war, and he lists who they are and the characteristics of a just war. Well, now that Augustinian Pope, because of the nature of nuclear warfare, is saying, no, can't justify it anymore. It's too awful. It's just too awful. And it is. But it makes it convenient for people that are going to make money off of pouring the concrete for the missile silos, that are going to make money you know, on the business of the payroll coming into town saying Great Falls. I mean, how good is that for the business people of Great Falls, for the people of Great Falls, the schools, the taxes? So everybody's got a piece of the action, right? And of course, our congressional delegation, they're going to act like they're super patriots and that it's the greatest thing for all of us to be part of a nuclear bullseye so that we can sponge up all the incoming missiles onto our missiles first, so that somehow we can win a nuclear war. It's insane. It's truly insane. It's stupid when you think about it. So today, the 4th of July, 2026, I'm saying that the thing we need to do is to stop even thinking about having nuclear war. We need to do away with it. We need to recognize what President Eisenhower said on his last speech about the power of the military-industrial complex. There's always going to be reasons thought of for why we should have nuclear weapons. It's just amazing. And if you get on AI, you can come up with reasons for anything using artificial intelligence. But basically, nuclear war, we need to put it in our rearview mirror. The countries that don't have nuclear weapons, nobody's talking about blowing them up. Now, they got to worry about people coming after them with swords. Look at Somalia, or look at Gaza. Well, look at a lot of these places. But they don't have to worry about nuclear weapons. We have to worry about nuclear weapons.
Look at that.
And I guess what I'm saying here to my fellow Montanans is it's time for us to give it up. And I think people in Great Falls can begin that process by saying, don't spend your money here on nuclear weapons. Take it someplace else. If it's such a good deal, somebody else is going to want it. Thanks.